Hello everybody, this is GeneralJannis, and today in Death Guard Tactics I have made a special video of Mortarion facing off the Silent King of the Necrons in the Bout of the Giants. So who would win in such a fight? Let's take a look. So two of the strongest models in the Warhammer 40k are Death Guard's Primarch Mortarion and the new introduced the Szarekh, the Silent King of Necrons. And just want to thank JB from the channel who suggested this interesting analysis of who would win in a fight between those two models. So, which model would be able to defeat each other if they were facing off 1 versus 1? And I know this is not a very typical scenario, but it will be interesting to see for two high-cost and high-profile models as this, which one could get the upper hand in a fight. So let's take a look. So, starting off and looking at the Silent King, we're looking at the base stats and the abilities. The Silent King, it costs 450 points for the Necrons, and the unit has the king himself, the Szarekh, and then two men here, followers that are basically bodyguards, and they have some shooting weapons. So if we look at the king himself, he has 3 brackets. He starts with 16 wounds. He has a weapon skill and ballistic skill of 2+, strength 5, toughness 7, 6 attacks, which can degrade down to 4 and 2, 10 leadership, 3+ save, and invul save of 4+. When he loses wounds, his movement goes down and attacks go down, and also, as we will see later, he cannot use some of his arsenal, some of his weaponry. And then, as we said, he has 2 bodyguards, the Triarchal men here, and they are not good in melee. They are only 6+ in melee, but 2+ in ballistic skill, strength 5, toughness 7, 5 wounds each, 1 attack each in close combat, and also 4+ invul save. So these are the baseline stats. If we look at the weapons, the king, he has the Scepter of Eternal Glory. Nice, very modest name, let's say. So this has both a shooting profile and a close combat profile. And in the shooting profile, he has an Assault 3, shot 3 shots, range 24 inches, strength 8, AP -3, and 2 damage. So it's quite a potent shooting weapon. In melee, it has strength +4, so basically here it will be a strength 9, which is good, AP -3, and damage 2. And this weapon can always be used by the king. He also has the Staff of Stars. Again, modesty is a good thing here. He has this weapon also can shoot and be used in melee. So in shooting, he has Assault 9. 24 inch, strength is only 6, so not so good against Mortarion's toughness 7, AP -2 and damage 1. And if Szarekh the king is below 9 wounds, so if he's in the second bracket or below, he cannot use the Staff of Stars. In melee, it has the user strength, so strength 5, AP -2 and damage 1. Again, not very potent against Mortarion at least, but in the fight phase he can use 3 attacks. He will get +3 attacks with his weapons, and he can do no more than 3 attacks. So in his attack phase, he can use a Scepter of Eternal Glory in fight phase for the number of attacks he has, and 3 attacks additionally with the Staff of Stars, and additionally 4 attacks additionally with the Scythe of Dust. And this is a very strong melee weapon, strength +3, so it's strength 8, AP -4, and damage 3, so straight 3. And this weapon cannot be used if he's in the lowest bracket. So if Mortarion can bring the king down to few wounds, then he's also starting to lose some of his weaponry, and he cannot hurt Mortarion back so easily. And then if we look at the men here, they have each have an Annihilator Beam, heavy 1 weapon, range 36 inches, strength 12, AP -4, and damage terrible straight 6 damage. So if they hit, they can they can do serious damage to Mortarion. But of course, with a 4+ invul for Mortarion, he could be saving these hits. The unit has a lot of abilities, and many abilities affect nearby and other Necrons that are not considered in this video here. But one ability that he has, which is really good, is that he always makes the opponent fight last in the fight phase. So in this bout with Mortarion, in close combat, in each phase, in each round, the king would be fighting first, and then Mortarion last, even if Mortarion charges. One additional good thing for the king is that it's a vehicle, considered a vehicle, so basically it can shoot the weapons even if locked in combat, so he can use the assault weapons with no -1 to hit, and the Annihilator's beam can still be shot, but by -1 to hit. The unit has also the living metal ability, so it regenerates 1 lost wound per model every own command phase. So both the Menhir and the king can regain some lost wounds every turn. And he also can deny 1 spell per turn, which can be quite important to stop Mortarion from using psychic abilities. And additionally, when damage is allocated to the Silent King, it must be taken with a Triarchal Menhir first. So basically, these guys, they just add, let's say, they add 10 wounds to the king. So to kill off the king, you need to do more than 26 wounds damage first, taking off the Menhir before starting chipping away on Szarekh, and probably being able to bracket him so that he cannot use his special weapons. So those are the main abilities. Of course, the Silent King has loads of other abilities that affect other Necrons, but not important here, or haven't looked at those here. And if we look at Mortarion, which I made a comprehensive review, the Mortarion is slightly more expensive, 419 point cost. He has he can fly, and he has a movement of 12 inches. He's very mobile. 2+ weapon skill and ballistic skill, of course. Strength 8, toughness 7, 18 wounds, attack 6 attacks by degrading if he loses wounds. 4+ invul save, and he has the Host of Plagues aura that make mortal wounds in the beginning of the fight phase. He doesn't have so many ranged options as the Silent King has. He has the Lantern, a pistol that he can shoot, and he can also shoot it when he's locked in combat. So this is what I've been using here. Haven't used the Phosphex bombs. And then he has the big weapon that can make a lot of damage, the Silence. It can be used in Reaping, Scythe mode, or Eviscerating Blow. And the difference is that if he chooses the Scythe, he can make 3 hit rolls per attack with his weapon. So on the charge, if he is full wounds, he would be making 21 attacks with the Reaping Scythe here, with Strength 8, AP -2, and damage 1. And in my previous video, I showed that the Reaping Scythe is better in melee versus opponents that have an invul save. Like the Silent King, being able to save, you wouldn't risk it using fewer attacks that potentially have high damage but can be saved. So you want to be able to do a lot of consistent damage against an invul save target. He also has some Nurglings, the Attendants, Claws and Teeth. Following him, he can do +d6 attacks in close combat, but only Strength 2 and no AP and only 1 damage. But they can actually do something, as I showed in my previous review. If you have Blades of Purifaction and on a 6-2 wound you get mortal wounds, so that can be. Normally they don't do almost anything, but I've taken them in here. So. As I said, Reaping Scythe will be what I've chosen here, better against invul save. He has the aura Host of Plagues, and it can deal mortal wounds in the start of the fight phase if he rolls above the Host of Plagues here. So when he's unbracketed on a 4+, the opponents get D3 mortal wounds. The unit, the Silent King in this case. He gets +1 attack when charging. He has a -1 toughness aura for opponents close by, so basically the Silent King would be at toughness 6 instead of toughness 7, but it doesn't make a huge impact for Mortarion's weapon in any case. He can cast 2 psychic powers, and I have selected the Miasma of Pestilence to protect him, so -1 to hit, and the Blades of Purifaction, which give you +1 to wound in the fight phase, and additionally, and more importantly, on a 6 unmodified, the target receives mortal wounds. So if he has the Reaping Scythe with 21 attacks and he hits, and then he can, with Blades of Purifaction, he can be doing a lot of mortal wounds on the king. And of course, he has the Arch Contaminator Warlord trait, allowing him to reroll all misses, all fail to wound rolls with plague weapons, and all his melee weapons are plague weapons, but not his pistol. So the battle rules. As we can see, the Silent King from the analysis has a big advantage in shooting. So if Mortarion needs to come in close and get into melee as soon as possible. If Mortarion starts, I have assumed he will be able to fly in, shoot his pistol and make the charge. I haven't made the charge roll. I just assume that he makes the charge, and I haven't bothered doing the overshoot in this case. If the Silent King starts, he will shoot all the weapons at Mortarion, and then it's Mortarion's turn to fly in and make the charge. Shoot and make the charge. When they are locked in melee, I haven't allowed them to fall back. I don't think the king will benefit anything from this, because the Mortarion is faster. He can follow him and charge him again, and then he would have even more attacks. In the psychic phase, Mortarion will try to cast Miasma of Pestilence and Blades on himself, and the king will try to deny the Blades of Purifaction, as this is more dangerous one to try. I haven't modeled any command protocols and other stratagems from the Necrons. I'm not necessarily an expert on those. I don't know them, so maybe there could be some other abilities and protocols and stratagems that would help the king. I haven't modeled Mortarion exploding. If he dies, I just assume that the king has won, but it could be a case where both kill each other. And I've made, because there are so many variables in this game, and it was so close when I just tried to see the average value, and because you have so many hard-hitting weapons and invul saves, that a few dice roll here and there could change the outcome a lot. So I've made a simulation of 200 simulations for some battle cases to try to get some sort of statistics into the game. And I know 200 is not really a lot, but it was enough. I needed some okay computational time for it. So the battle sequence is like this. If king starts, he gets to shoot all its weapons to Mortarion. Then it's Mortarion's turn. So in Mortarion's turn, I have the psychic phase. Then Mortarion will shoot his pistol. Then we start then he charges automatically and gets into melee. And then we have the fight aura, the host of plagues. Then king fights, and then Mortarion fights last, even if he charged. And then in the king's turn, he has the living metal. He can regain some lost wounds. Then the king will shoot in point blank at Mortarion. Then we have the fight phase where the aura of Mortarion again comes into play. And then the king fights again first, and Mortarion fights last. And then it continues until one of the models has been reduced to 0 wounds. So let's look at some results. So in this battle case, I have assumed that Mortarion starts, but I haven't allowed him to cast any psychic abilities. So in this case, out of the 200 simulations I did, a bit more than half, 56%, the king won, and Mortarion won at 92 wins. And here you can see out of the 200 battles how many times the king had what wounds left, and in 92 battles he had 0 wounds left, but in 30 battles he was completely unharmed. So this shows a bit the variety of the dice roll can give you with these high potent weapons and invul saves. So generally there are a lot of cases where he has still quite a lot of wounds, and Mortarion was not able to harm him a lot. And in 20 cases, not shown here, but Mortarion didn't even manage to kill both the men here that were accompanying the king. And here we see that even in the cases where Mortarion wins, where he has some wounds left after the battle, he's quite most of the times he's quite wounded in this scenario. But this is without the psychic ability. So we see without psychic abilities there is advantage to the Necrons, even if Mortarion starts. And of course, if the Necrons would start first here, the advantage would be even stronger. But let's take into account some of the psychic abilities. So here I have assumed that Mortarion has Miasma of Pestilence all the time. He's not using any other psychic power, and so basically in this case he's -1 to hit for the duration of the fight. And suddenly here we see that with this, this tilts the balance to his favor. So in this case he's winning around 70% of the battles, and he's left with more wounds. Doing so in one battle out of 200 here, he managed to kill the king and didn't lose a single wound. So that's some lucky rolling for you. But there are still also some cases where the king was able to win and kill Mortarion without and having lost no wounds. So Miasma of Pestilence was interesting, but if we look at in this simulation, I have used that Mortarion has the Blades of Purifaction all the time. He doesn't have Miasma in this case, but only the Blades of Purifaction, and all the time he has it. So we see here that in this case he's winning 90% of the battles. So basically the Blades of Purifaction are a huge increase of the damage that Mortarion can do. And we see that he's left, he wins most of the battles, and he's left with considerable wounds left after the battle. Still, there are some occasions in the 10% or so that the king wins. There are some cases where he doesn't lose a wound. So this shows again the variability of the dice, but a heavy favorite with the Blades of Purifaction. So now if I just assume now that we have the normal psychic phase, so now Mortarion has to roll to make the psychic phase and to cast the 2 spells on himself, and the Silent King can deny as normal. Here the stats, and this is with Mortarion starting. In this case, Mortarion wins in 80% of the cases, and the Silent King only 20% of the cases. So Mortarion is the heavy favorite to win due to his psychic abilities, and in this case because he starts first and goes in and makes the charge. But if I allow the king to start first and just have the normal psychic phase as this, we can see here that then the odds are improved for the king, but still Mortarion is the favorite. So in this case I have added the first shooting phase for the Silent King. So Mortarion is still the favorite to win, even if he gets shot at for 1 turn before making the charge. In this case he's a 60% to 40% favorite. But of course, the more turns we add, if Mortarion cannot make the charge and he's falling behind and the king can keep a distance to him, the king definitely would win. If we add 1 more turn of shooting, then the Necrons, the Silent King, would be the favorite. So how long does the fighting take? And in these simulations, I have seen that for almost half of the cases, it's already finished. The fight is already finished after the turn 1. So this means Mortarion's first turn, for example, and then King's turn. So like two phases in 1 turn. The rest, almost half, finish after 2 turns. So with 2 turns, basically the fight is over, and very few occasions any model has any wounds left. There are very few cases where it has to continue to turn 3. So it's quite a fast fight, 1 or 2 turns, because both models are quite lethal. So when they get the upper hand, they can finish the fight quite quickly. But it's not. There is no possibility for any of them to one shot or 1 kill in the first phase. So it goes basically at least 2 sub phases here. So some summary and final thoughts. In this scenario, very simplified, let's say Mortarion will most likely be the winner, provided that he can get in and charge as soon as possible. He's still the favorite, even if Silent King would get 1 round of shooting, and then in this case he's a 60% favorite, even with this case. The key to Mortarion's success, of course, is his melee abilities, but assisted by the psychic abilities. He needs the psychic abilities, the Miasma of Pestilence, and especially the Blade Purifaction to quickly give additional mortal wounds and bracket the king, so then the king cannot do so much damage back. So without the psychic abilities, if the Necrons can stop that, then Mortarion is not the favorite, then the king is the favorite. If Mortarion cannot get in quickly into melee combat, the king will be the winner and can still win with some good rolls in many occasions, and especially if he can deny Mortarion's blades. There might be abilities and command protocols in the Necron Codex that could help the king and increase his odds, but I'm not an expert of those, so I have so for now the winner is declared the Daemon Primarch of Death Guard Mortarion. So this concludes the video, and I think in JB's first analysis he was thinking that it was showing that the king had an advantage, and it's indeed so if we don't factor in Mortarion's psychic abilities. So I think the psychic abilities of Mortarion are key to the win, and of course, as always, some lucky dice roll. So these words conclude the video. What do you think about this analysis? Have you ever faced the Necron king in battle? And let me know in the comments. If you like the video, please press like, leave some comments, and subscribe to the channel, where I will be bringing loads of videos on Death Guard tactics. And if you have any suggestion for some similar video or some fights or analysis or review of units you would like to see, please leave a comment below. So with these words, GeneralJannis is signing out. Stay safe out there, and bye bye.